No, I said a deluge of nostalgia. That's what I said.
Well, that's not the name of any Star Trek that we've watched.
But it should be. That's a great name of an episode.
It does sound like it. Yeah, it sounds like a Strange New Worlds episode.
Right, for sure.
As you know, this is the measure of an... Ow! My phone fell off the thing and it dragged my ears with it. Okay, going again. As you know, this is the measure of an episode, where it is our continuing mission to explore what makes Star Trek genuine Star Trek and not just an episode of Star Trek television. What? I'm Paul.
I'm Jonathan, and we do this using 3 criteria. The first one is there sci-fi that is actually integral to the plot? In other words, it cannot be removed for the plot to stay the same. The second one is that sci-fi presented in a unique or novel way? And the third one is there a moral or ethical dilemma that a character must face? Any character at any point. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Paul, and this week we watched Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 2, The Least Dangerous Game, which immediately kind of flicked my memory. Like, I thought that maybe this was a reference to some other Star Trek, and so I Googled Star Trek The Most Dangerous Game.
Okay.
And nothing came up.
No. Yeah. There is The Most Dangerous Game, which is what they're referencing, but...
Well, it's a movie, right? It's a movie from like 1930.
It's a book, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought it was a reference, and it wasn't. And I was like, well, this is going to be a long episode.
Once you realized it wasn't? Like, did you Google it right away?
I felt really smart. I was like, oh, this is a reference show. I'm going to get this reference immediately.
Nope.
It's not a reference.
It's not a Star Trek reference.
Yeah, that's true. It's barely even a reference by itself. And the blurb is, on a tropical paradise planet. I guess it is tropical. Never thought about that. Mariner questions Commander Ransom on how he structures his away team. Boimler makes a bold career decision.
That's pretty good. But again, it feels like a TV guide blurb. Wow, dating myself.
Does TV Guide still exist?
No.
I think it does.
No. And not like not a summary. You know, it feels like a horoscope.
Yeah, and it doesn't read like it's a comedy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I guess we're supposed to infer all of the comedic stuff.
They should just add hijinks ensue, like at the end of every single one.
Right. But things aren't as they seem. Okay, so the first time I love this episode.
Wow. Okay.
Because of the Klingon that makes an appearance on this.
Yes. Yeah. That's fair.
He's everybody's favorite Klingon.
Right.
What's his name? He's my favorite Klingon. I don't know his name. I just forgot his name. Garrick. Garrick?
No, that's the Cardassian from Deep Space Nine.
Right. Well, that was close. What's his name? Are you holding back?
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see what you figured out. You're really close.
Grok? It's a G, right?
No, you're thinking of Gowron. It starts with an M.
Martok.
There you go.
It's nothing to do with Garrick. Yeah, it ends in a K. That's most things in Star Trek. Star Trek ends with a K.
Wait, are you talking about Martok, Garrick, Darmok, Spock?
All of them. Everything.
Datuk?
He's the Klingon version. The failed Klingon android named Datok.
That's Datok.
Just goes out killing people.
Right.
Anyway, he's still my favorite Klingon, and boy did he show up.
Yeah, he did. That was amazing.
He's glorious.
Yeah.
And he sounds exactly the same as he did 30 years ago in the 80s when he was on Next Gen.
Right. Yeah.
It was glorious. And I thought, what is going on? Because I thought, he looks a little Muppet Baby. It's like, what's going on here? And then it turned out, oh, he's part of a game. Mm-hmm. And in the canon of the show, it's not like it's some simulation of the guy. He pre-recorded it.
Right.
Like he's a Waze voice that they do, or they used to do, where like when a movie was coming out and when you would use Waze, you could use like Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice.
Right. Well, but on top of that, like they're playing a D&D game equivalent. And there are so many different ways you can take a D&D game. So like everything he had to record for that.
Well, exactly. It makes more sense that it would be some sort of simulation. But no, he has nothing to do in retirement. And that's what he's doing.
Right.
And I love, so later on in the episode when they're playing again, it's actually really funny when he says, like, he does a move and they're sort of demonstrating that it doesn't matter if you take risks or you don't. Something bad might happen either way. You just kind of have to do what you want to do.
Right.
The theme of this episode, if you will, for Boimler. And he says, the bartender rips off your arm and kills you with it. And this is not an honorable way to die, since technically you died by your own hand.
Right.
Which I thought was hilarious. Oh. But he was great. And I feel like the episode went downhill from there a little bit. Not that it was a bad episode.
No, yeah. I still, but the problem is, like, I guess I just didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. And I don't know if it's because it was more character than story, or yeah.
I think it was all character. I don't think really anything happens other than them kind of getting hijinks, just hijinks.
Well, there's character arcs for everybody in it. You know, like they are a different well, not for everybody. The two people, Boimler and Mariner, you know, they do grow by the end of the episode, which they didn't really in the first episode, but also the growth that Mariner did have by not exposing, but I guess just sharing with her friends, like, came from the story. And you know, this was such an episode where it was about Boimler's and Mariner's reactions to what was happening to them, that I did not. I was disappointed by this episode. I enjoyed it, and I'd still watch it again because I think it's funny. But overall, I was disappointed by this episode.
I feel like you're right, and it kind of occurred to me because the idea that it seems like the show is arc based,
right,
where every episode the characters need to learn something, which is very un-Star Trek, if you ask me.
Yeah.
The idea that you have to get to the end of the episode and some character has to go through some sort of revelation about themselves, I think is the wrong direction. I feel like it should be the other way around. That now the first Grounded, season 3, episode 1,
right,
that actually had somewhat of an adventure to it, where they were going places and had a goal that was outside of their arc.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what made it better. Also, all the first Contact stuff, which was fun. but I feel like this is purely just them going through motions, going through hijinks, and then coming to the end of it saying, like, "Oh, I just discovered this about myself. Good for me."
Right.
You know.
Yep.
And I feel like maybe that's what makes it easy to do an animation, or that's what facilitates the genre or the paradigm of animation.
Okay.
Right? If it was just an adventure, like, why not just do an adventure? Maybe there are more like this. I haven't seen, most of the show, so they might all be like, but it seems like the ones that we have watched have been about the characters specifically, that whatever is happening externally,
okay,
doesn't matter.
Right.
Really.
Mm-hmm. But
does that resonate with you?
I'd have to, like, go back and watch the other 2 episodes that we've seen. Because I don't remember it being like this, like that as much as it was in the first episode. And even in this episode, like, there wasn't another story happening beyond what was going on with Boimler. And with Mariner, the story was there. The conflict was taking place down on the planet, but I know that Ransom, like, admitted it, but it felt like the conflict was there just because Ransom was trying to get under Mariner's skin. And he's petty, so it makes sense, but it seems like a senior officer would not do that.
I was thinking to myself, so the orbital lifts,
yeah,
I thought were novel.
Okay.
I thought they were interesting, that we haven't really seen that in Star Trek before. I thought, oh, that's not interesting. Like, they haven't really, even in the latter Voyager, stuff like that. It sounds like something you just encounter because it's something that we've been thinking about doing or figuring out how to do on planet Earth in real life. And then I was like, never mind. The whole skydiving thing jogged my memory, and that's like it's a whole series of events that happens in the J.J. Abrams' first Star Trek movie.
Right.
So never mind about that.
Yeah. I wonder, though, if that is like a tongue-in-cheek reference to the elevator in...
It's gotta be.
Well, because, like, maybe they never called it an elevator in that movie. Like, it was always an orbital lift.
It
You know,
wasn't.
and
It
Mariner's
wasn't
like,
an
"Come on."
elevator. I don't think it was an elevator. I think it was something like a drill or something like that.
Mm,
I don't think it was actually, but it was just something that connected from space to the ground, and that was kind of what they were using
right.
it for.
But I did love, since we're like hopping around, I did love that, like, that she went against his orders, had to climb back up, and then like finally got to relax on the dive down. Like,
Yeah.
just
No, I didn't think she was going to make it either.
right. Yeah.
She kind of made it.
Yeah.
She doesn't really have an arc, I guess, in this.
No, other than, you know, she did feel guilty and she was glad to earn Ransom's trust. But kind of going back to what you said in the last episode, maybe she's just fun and that's why I like her. But like she's breaking all the rules in the last episode, and then because she starts crying, everybody's like, "No, hey, it's okay. Like we're still on your side." And then in this episode, she does break the rules. Ransom doesn't catch her, and she doesn't admit it. So she like takes the praise and his apology without saying, "You were right to not trust me."
Right. And I think the only reason that we let that go is because Ransom was kind of being a douche about everything.
Right.
And his intentions were not pure in terms of why he was allowing his friends to get tortured on the planet,
Right.
basically.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like this idea that, well, she felt guilty, therefore she is absolved of her problems or of her deeds. That's not how it works.
Right.
I feel like that happens a lot in real life.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel so guilty that I did that.
Right.
And like, that's enough. It's like,
Yeah. Well, no, that's 100% in real life. People are constantly like, "But I said I was sorry." Like,
yeah.
what I have started doing, especially with my students, and I love doing it because it's still like, it acknowledges their apology without absolving them, is I thank them.
Yeah, it's great. You know, now go back in the corner, put the dunce hat on.
Yeah.
Back on.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a point in the episode where Ransom is watching the equivalent of a YouTube tutorial to fix the elevator.
Right.
I thought that was really funny because you think that he's talking to somebody, and it's just a YouTube.
Right.
It's just YouTube.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. Nice little commentary on social media.
Right.
By the way, that brings me to ask you: is YouTube social media?
Yes. It's almost the definition of social media.
Well, then what is the definition of social media?
Well, those two words, like it's media. It's a visual representation of either entertainment, news, or information provided socially, provided by the people.
That doesn't track for me.
I'm sorry, but those are the definitions of social and media.
Right. But when we think of sitcom, you know, think of that. So a situational comedy, right? Except in terms of what we think of versus what the definition is. Like, for example, which one feels more like a sitcom, Friends or Scrubs?
Friends.
Right.
Yeah.
So we lean toward what the general expression of something is, regardless of the actual definition of it.
Yeah, but Scrubs is a dramedy, you know, and Friends was not. So like, I understand what you're saying. Scrubs is definitely, it's a sit-dram, but that's a situational drama. It's a,
I don't know if it's a dramedy or
dramadational.
Well, because yes, there's some drama in it, but you could say the same thing about Friends.
Not to the same extent.
It wasn't all jokes.
Right, but there's no episode of Friends that has a twist at the end where the character we've been following has been dead this whole time. There isn't an episode where they talk about how like 3 out of 4 people make it through the hospital, you know, and the episode ends with 1 of the 4 not making it. Like,
right, but if you were to look it up, it would be called a situational comedy, right? Because most of what it is, like 9/10 of that show is jokes, right?
Yeah.
Fine, 8/10.
Right.
4/5.
There you go. Thank you. Truly appreciate you simplifying that. Genuinely.
Yeah. But anyway, my point being is that it seems like with YouTube, and I understand the definition that it is created by your social peers or whatever, social people.
Right.
And then you watch it. And so That's the idea. Maybe it's the purest form of social media, because when I think of social media, here's what I think. I think of Facebook
Right.
and Twitter, and where there seems to be a conversation.
Right.
And YouTube does not appear to me to be conversational.
No.
It appears
Right. The information is being presented to you. You can
you consume it.
Right.
Right, but people don't go to YouTube to. I mean, there's comments, but
Right.
it just doesn't feel as conversational.
No, not at all.
I guess that's
Right.
the difference.
Yeah. Like it's just somebody talking during the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
People we all love.
Right. Those are. Well, I mean, it's a good analogy, because the people who are down in the comments, for the most part, it's like, why did you take the time to come down here and say that? Like,
Right.
Why did you bother putting thank you for that? We are all dumber and more bored and have wasted 20 minutes of our lives.
Right.
Like, you wasted even more doing so. But then you do have those people, like when I went to go see, what was it? I think it was The Phantom Menace. In theaters, midnight showing, they played trailers before the movie, and like the whole audience groaned. And the first one came on, and the guy goes, "That was dumb," and nobody said anything. The second one comes on, and they're like, "That was dumb." And then Titan AE trailer comes on, and he goes, "That was pretty cool."
Did everybody laugh?
Yeah.
There is nothing more fun if you can still manage it. I cannot. I am too old to do this, but there is nothing more fun than going to a midnight showing of a movie that everybody wants to see.
Right. Oh, yeah. The energy there is so different.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I went and saw Inception
Oh.
at a midnight showing because I was super into Nolan. I still am super into Nolan.
Right.
But super into Nolan. Like, looked like you had no idea what this movie was about.
Mm-hmm.
Because, thank God.
Right.
Because they could have spoiled it. But anyway, we went and had dinner, and then 4 hours later, we went to the theater and sat there waiting for it to start. And they started playing the trailers. And talk about not knowing your audience. But there was a Zac Efron trailer in front of Inception.
Right.
And it was some stupid rom-com thing where he's got his shirt off.
Right.
And it was like, everybody rebelled. Everybody. And started swearing at the screen and laughing at it. And it was glorious. It was amazing. It was so much fun. I wish I could still do that. There aren't even really movies that happen for that anymore. Mm-hmm. But we digress.
Yeah.
So you admit that I was right and you were wrong about whatever we were talking about.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I need your help.
Okay.
I need you to explain the dolphins to me, if they are in fact dolphins or whatever they are.
Oh, so
I have no idea what's going on. I know that they are hot for Boimler.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, and maybe not anymore after he dove in with his shoes on. But so in the blueprints of the Enterprise, and it may just be the Enterprise D, if not another one, they have cetacean operations where it has I think it has a picture of a blue whale and dolphins. And it's one of those things where I think they did it as just kind of a fun little cheeky nod to the diehard, people who scour over every square inch of the blueprints. But yeah, so people have been clamoring for the dolphins to be seen on screen in any iteration of Star Trek. And so they showed up, I think, in episode 8 of season 1 or something like that. And yeah, everybody just lost their minds about it. They thought it was amazing. It was so funny. They loved that, they actually had their own uniforms, that they were doing things that helped the ship and the crew.
So wait a minute. So you're saying that in the blueprints that you can go and buy somewhere, the technical manuals for Star Trek.
Yeah.
That there is a place where the Enterprise, whatever, the Picard's Enterprise has these things. We just never saw them.
Correct. And I think there is one episode where they do mention it, but nothing happens with it.
I got to see that. I have to know more. It seems so ridiculous. Do they have a function?
Well, clearly.
What do you mean clearly?
Well, based on...
The last thing I have about this is clarity.
Based on what we've seen and their area, they must be responsible for something.
I feel like you say that, but you haven't seen Galaxy Quest.
Fair.
Because there's that scene where they have to go through and there's like these stomping pieces of metal and they're like, what is this? What does this have to do? It's like, well, this was how you got through in a certain episode. It was just, they were just there.
Right.
And so they put them in. They have no function.
So it's responsible for the ship's navigation.
The dolphins are?
Yeah.
Well, I know that in Discovery they have like bacteria or something like that actually helps them navigate the ship, or maybe it helps them with hyperdrive or something like that.
Right.
Hyperdrive.
Okay, so in an episode called The Perfect Mate, which was season 5, episode 21, LaForge actually asks a visiting Ferengi if he had seen the dolphins yet.
I feel like that doesn't prove anything at all.
No, what I'm saying is like that is the reference that happened on the show that I was talking about. I said like I think it had happened in one other place.
So that's all they're going for?
No, I'm sorry.
LaForge
Also,
says-
no. Dr. Kim from yesterday's Enterprise was told to report to cetacean ops.
What does cetacean mean?
I'm pretty sure it means dolphin.
Cetacean ops.
They were aquatic mammals.
Okay. So whales, and that all feels like just a reference to Voyage Home. No Voyage Home? Voyage Home. Spider-Man is forever.
I know. I love it. Voyage from home? Home voyaging?
Have you seen The Voyage Home?
Short answer, yes.
Why is TV so complicated for you? There were whales in that one.
Thank you. And a lot of great one-liners. Like I do distinctly remember them walking away from the cloaked Enterprise saying, everybody remember where we parked. Like
that was funny. I did like the idea that they talk about colorful language or colorful metaphors.
Yeah.
Because Spock hears somebody swearing.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand what it is, even though he knows everything.
Right.
Doesn't know what swearing is.
Well, he also didn't know Halloween, I think.
Yeah, didn't know Halloween.
Yeah.
And so they get to the end after Spock has gone through his arc of learning what swear words are. And
apparently brought them back with them because everybody's using them now.
Well, what's funny, the funniest line in Voyage Home is when Kirk says, Spock, where the hell are those readings? And Spock says, 1 damn minute, Captain. I loved it. They set it up and they paid it off.
Right.
And it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And it just flies by, right?
Right.
They don't Picard it and shine a light on him while he says it and stop the music. Yeah.
Spock, you just used a
Yeah.
colorful.
There might be hope for you yet, Spock. Right. So yeah, anyway, so the thing that
Boimler cetaceans?
No, the thing that hit me the most with this
okay.
in this episode, and that's given me the most clarity about what the show's about, is the G.I. Joe level arcs for the characters, right? It's kind of like, well, I learned this by the end of the episode.
Right. Well, I learned this today. Yeah.
It's kind of like what Star Trek, well, Star Trek and South Park, what South Park makes fun of.
Right.
Because I don't know if they do it anymore, but there was a while where every single episode ended with them learning something.
Yeah.
And
usually it was the wrong lesson, but yeah.
It was I don't like it. I feel like we've moved on from that type of storyline and writing and everything. Like I feel like we should expect more. Not that it's less, but like just more in the sense of something more creative.
Sure.
You know, I feel like it's easy to say, well, what trouble is Boimler going to get himself into because of his own hubris, and what lesson will he learn because of the consequences of that hubris?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like we can do more with Star Trek. Like, why don't you just have them go on an adventure where they don't learn anything?
Well, but I feel like it's just a little bit more spotlighted in Lower Decks, because I feel like in most episodes there is character growth. And they do reflect on it. But
in Star Trek?
Yeah.
Or in
Star Trek.
Okay.
But they reflect on it in a way where they kind of talk about what it means going forward rather than what just happened in this past episode. You know, like I'm thinking of the episode where Jordy's mom, quote unquote, dies, you know, and then at the end of the episode, he's finally able to let her go. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Right.
I'm just saying it feels as though the episodes are engineered around these arcs,
Right.
in a way.
Yeah.
And I feel like in Next Gen or any of the other, I mean, even most of the other Star Trek shows, like with the exception of some episodes, like even with that Geordi one you just mentioned, whatever it's called, I think they had the idea for the science fiction plot line, and they said, well, how can we integrate one of our characters?
Right, some character growth.
you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like the first episode had that, but it was a little bit more like that TNG where the revelation of the character flaw came from the story. You know, like
they were intertwined,
yeah.
if you will, right? You couldn't separate one from the other.
Well, and it wasn't even that, you know, okay, this is the character arc we're getting. It was, you know, she's behaving this way, which, okay, like that's her character, not really liking it. And then at the end, you know, she's like, this is why I'm behaving that way. You know, as opposed to at the start of the episode, they're like, you need to be bold and take these chances, or you're doing this just to piss me off.
Yeah, and it feels like, I have not seen most of the show, so I could be out of line here.
Right.
But it feels like they have these revelations about themselves, and then they forget all about them the next episode, right? They should be different people. I feel like Mariner should have said, no, I always do this. I always lash out and impulsively start doing something. I need to talk about it with something, like, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen. She just does the same thing she did in the first episode in this episode.
Right. I guess the difference that I could say is that it is with a superior officer who is coming down on her. And so it's very easy to fall back into the behavior that you know, especially if someone is goading you to.
Right. Yeah, well,
but you know, that's also giving them an out. Like maybe that wasn't intentional. And, you know, unfortunately, A, having not seen all the whole series, and B, not knowing what comes next, we don't know how much we're talking out of our asses right now.
Well, I feel like it doesn't matter. You know, I feel like we're starting to see a pattern, regardless of what came before it. I don't think that because it holds fidelity to what came before it, that means that it's okay.
Right, but it could just be that these two episodes back to back is just a coincidence that they had this growth from the characters.
Right.
Once is an accident. 2 is a coincidence. 3 is a pattern.
Canceled. 3 is a canceled.
3 is canceled. Right.
Well, it's more like once is canceled.
Yeah.
2 is a coincidence. 3 is a pattern.
Very true. We are innocent until proven guilty.
Until proven innocent.
Yeah.
So I don't think this was a proper Star Trek episode. I don't think there was really anything novel about it.
Yeah,
really.
That's fair. Right. Yeah.
Not really an ethical dilemma.
No. Other than Ransom holding his ground despite being so clearly wrong, and everybody, well, not everybody, Mariner telling him he was wrong and him just being so stubborn, and then him admitting to it. I feel like the fact that he switched sides, like, you know, there was no dilemma for him, but the fact that he switched sides meant that he recognized that it was wrong. So there must have been some kind of internal struggle that we just didn't see. But regardless of that, like, we don't need to argue that point, because the orbital lift is pretty sci-fi and it's pretty unique.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I feel like it was interesting, but they don't go into it. It's just there. It could have been as post. And by the way, it's not working. So they don't even use the lift.
Right.
Although there's a point where she does use a lift.
Mm-hmm. So I think it was just damaged at a certain point, you know, so like it worked after that, but it couldn't get past that.
Right.
All right. Well, dang it. All right. So if you're agreeing that is novel and unique and that is sci-fi because it was kind of required, then that means we do need to discuss the moral and ethical dilemma.
I don't think there was one. I don't think there was no, I mean, I guess he was just being a dick and then he realized he shouldn't have been a dick, but that's not an ethical dilemma.
Right. I mean, it is a moral dilemma because he realized that he shouldn't be, you know, so there is that change in his moral stance on it. We just didn't see that happen. We did not see him deliberate at all about it. He was a dick, and then she came in to talk to him, and he was like, I was wrong about you, and I apologize.
But he wasn't wrong about her. she did the thing
Yeah.
that he thought she would do.
Right. That's really true too.
I don't know if that matters, but it still doesn't feel like a moral or ethical dilemma.
Right. Right.
Moral ethical dilemma would be: do we blow up the lifts because of whatever? You know what I mean? Like they're not tortured by some sort of decision they have to make that's going to affect some group of people or one person or the other.
Right.
It just doesn't feel. I mean, he's having I guess a moment of conscience, perhaps.
Yeah,
but that's
fair.
not.
That's not a moral
really
dilemma. Right. Right.
Yeah, I think it was an episode of hijinks, and this is the second Star Trek expression of Predator.
That's true.
Only one of which you have seen, sir.
That's not true. I was with you.
Everybody knows.
A turkey and some mistletoe.
Oh, nice. That's coming up. We're almost there. The second.
Yeah, we still have 3 other holidays to get through.
Where have you been living, sir? October 1st is that's where all Christmas trees go up.
Mm-hmm. I know.
At the shopping centers.
I know.
We already saw one at Costco.
Yep.
They're already selling Christmas trees or
The lights.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I know.
So-
I know. Super irritated by it.
Do you think we'll be alive?
At Christmas
When-
time? I hope so.
Oh yeah, me too. I love Christmas.
All right, let's see what we're watching next.
Now, do you think that it will happen in our lifetime where you just leave your Christmas tree up or your lights up or however you like to celebrate the holidays up?
Yes, I do. I think that I think the store is called At Home, and it literally has all the seasons there in different departments, and you can shop for all the seasons year round. And I believe that the bigger bulk stores and department stores are going to start doing that. They will have just sections. Maybe they'll grow in size, like, depending on where it is in the year. Like maybe in April, the Halloween and the Christmas stuff will not be as prominent, but it will always be there.
I don't know if I look forward to that day or if I dread that day.
I look forward to it because I feel like if you're going to provide that product earlier and earlier, then stop pussyfooting it and just like commit to it. Make it year round.
Right. Yeah. Just start there. I'm surprised there isn't a radio station that plays Christmas music all year round. You know how there's always that local radio station that plays only Christmas music for the month of December?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there is on Sirius Radio or whatever.
Right. And Pandora. Like, yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can always do that.
Right.
That doesn't count. It doesn't count unless it's actually accessible by terrestrial radio.
Right.
Then it's serious business.
Well, you just said then it's not serious.
No, it is serious.
But you just said it.
Oh, I got it. I get it. Very good.
Who's on first?
Okay, so we're agreed not a genuine Star Trek episode?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And I did like it. I'm disappointed by it, but it was not an episode that when it came around again, I'd be like, I don't really want to watch that one. So I'm going to say it's a yes for me on liking it.
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
I feel like what I like about the show is it nests me comfortably in the Star Trek world.
Yes.
I'd never feel like it's fraudulent, that they're trying to fool me into thinking like this is not where they have painted a African safari in the leopard zoo paddock.
Right.
Even though you're in the middle of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right. I feel like you might be speaking from personal experience. Okay. Yeah.
You go to those things and you feel like, how do you this doesn't feel at all like the Saharan desert.
Right.
Regardless of how much rock you paint onto the concrete wall.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you don't see the panther like getting a concussion from running into the wall thinking that it's going to go deeper into the forest.
Oh God, does that happen?
No, that's what I just said. You don't see that.
That's terrible. I feel sorry for a lot of cats.
Apparently,
today.
Right?
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm in the world, which is to me the most important thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I like it. I like the show. So far, I mean, this didn't really tickle my intellectual need from Star Trek.
Right.
But it tickled my balls a little bit, which is fine.
I mean, it's the same difference. You laugh either way.
Right. Do you laugh when somebody tickles your balls?
I can genuinely say it's never come up.
Well, they're not doing it right then. I've been Paul.
I've been Jonathan.
And this has been The Measure of an Episode.
But you already knew that.
You're so much better at those. I can't do them like that. I can do Janeway, and that's it.
Do you know who that was?
Janeway and Cisco.
Okay, I'm going to assume you didn't
Who
hear
was
me.
that?
Okay. So this feels like Waiting for Guffman, where the guy does an impression and his wife laughs, and he's like, "Who was that? Who was that?" She always laughs at my impressions, but she never knows who it is. Like, it's not a good impression if you don't know who it was.
No, it was the guy. It was the Predator guy. That's what I thought it was.
Oh no, I actually totally forgot his voice. It was supposed to be Martok.
Oh, that was a terrible impression.
I mean, yeah, it was the Predator. Good job. You can cut that middle part out.